The city of Grand Rapids announcing today it will not regulate Uber drivers.
The company started offering services in Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Lansing, and Flint in the end of July. But now Mayor Hartwell is saying city leaders in Grand Rapids won't have anything to do with private vehicles picking up strangers for money. Fox 17's Troy Campbell spoke with a legal expert and joins us live in downtown Grand Rapids with a breakdown of the city's stance. Troy?
Yeah, guys, at this time, plenty of people out and about on the city, out in the town, nice August night. You know, and if anyone out and about tonight has a little too much to drink, hopefully they either catch a ride with a friend or call a cab company. And now, while many may argue that Uber's very convenient, one legal expert says if anything were to go wrong when you're in that vehicle with the Uber driver, as it stands now, you're on your own.
You're on your own. That's the message. You're on your own.
It's a company worth almost $20 billion and has skyrocketed in about 140 cities in 40 different countries. The idea is simple. Use their mobile app to solicit a cab ride. Only difference, their drivers include regular people who aren't regulated by the city of Grand Rapids.
The question always comes up, what happens if tragedy strikes when you're in a car? So now the question is, what happens if tragedy strikes when you're in an Uber vehicle?
Tom Sinas at Sinas Dramas Law Firm says the letter the city of Grand Rapids sent out on Monday says the city is essentially waiting before making any decisions on how to regulate Uber's drivers.
I read the city's statement as telling people in Grand Rapids, we're not going to take a position on Uber. We're not going to tell people that they can't hire an Uber driver, but we're also not going to tell people that they should have any assurance of safety.
Sinas says it's still to be determined how closely Uber actually monitors the insurance coverage of its drivers, as opposed to other cab companies that are licensed and regulated by the city.
If you're going to hire an Uber driver, you want to know if something bad happens to me, do I have insurance coverage?
Sinas says with the way Uber works, it could create an insurance conflict not typically seen in commercial situations.
So say, for example, you were in one of our college towns, and you had a college student who was from Ohio, and that college student got into a car with an Uber driver who was also from Ohio. That may present a scenario where if someone is injured during that accident, there's no-fault insurance coverage.
The city of Grand Rapids says it will look at other cities and compare how they've dealt with Uber branching into their communities, with their biggest concern being safety.
The city is trying to take a step back and take a pause and try to evaluate if it's going to regulate, how should it do so smartly for today's technology.
And Calder City Taxi tells Fox 17 that it's very expensive to run a cab company that complies with Grand Rapids City ordinance. It includes that they say open for 24 hours a day. So even in the dead of winter, when no one's calling for rides, they're required to stay open, plus extra licensing and insurance. Very expensive. So they say it's not fair if an Uber driver is allowed to avoid those expenses. Live in downtown Grand Rapids, Troy Campbell, Fox 17 News.
And Troy, what about the Uber drivers themselves? Do they have anything to worry about if they're driving in Grand Rapids?
Yeah, Sinas says what you should do if you're thinking about signing up for this, talk to your insurance agent. He says very important because there could be a hiccup in a claim following an accident. If your insurance company had no idea that you were using the vehicle they were insuring for commercial purposes and you were making money and you essentially had customers in your car. So if they're not aware of that, you might get yourself into a situation following an accident and even a possible lawsuit if you have people from out of town, the driver included and whatnot. So very important to talk to your insurance agent, and he says the devils are in the details, and that obviously also applies to insurance policies.
And we know the cab drivers have to carry $1 million liability, so that's quite an expense as well.
Very expensive. It's the Calder City said it's about $6 grand per car per year. That's on top of licensing fees to register as a cab in the city of Grand Rapids and then everything else. So again, these Uber drivers, they don't have to comply with that.
Yeah, a lot to think about for not only the users but the drivers, as we just heard there tonight. Troy, thanks so much for that.